This video shows the detailed work of solving problems occurring in either examples or selected exercise problems. You may skip this video and by just reading through the PDF file in the same folder, and we will see how these questions being answered. Okay, so the first example shows how to find the two types of equations of the same line by given a slope and a point, and also how to plot a line. Okay, so we are given the slope as 0.2 and the point is 2 and 1. In order to form a slope point equation, it's very direct, and we just have slope as in -2 in m position and times x minus 2, since this point 2 is the x value. Okay, and the other side we have y minus 1. Usually we will need to extend it into a distribute the slope in. If we work on this slope if we work on this slope point equation, we can obtain the slope y-intercept equation from here, but I'd like to start from the beginning. If we are only asked for the slope-intercept equation in general form, that equation is y equals mx plus b. So here m is given 0.2, we plug in, and then we use the point x equals 2 and y equals 1 to get 1 equals -2 times 2 plus b, and solve for b, we got b equals 5, so the equation is y equals -2x plus 5. So how do we plot the line by the equation? Notice that we only need 2 points for plotting a line. Okay, so 1 point is always given, you can find, which is 2 and 1. So we need to find another point. The easy way is from the equation, we let x equal 0. So we got y equals 5. So 0 and 5 also on the line, and link these 2 points together, we have the graph of y equals -2x plus 5. So next example is a application. In this case, we need to read through this information carefully and find out what's the real numbers there. Okay, so this is a little tricky because we already went through this in our lecture, but I want to emphasize again. Okay, so notice that we started with 3 weeks and 600 as the salary, and also we have 6 weeks later. Okay, 6 weeks later, which means we are given 2 points, 3 and 600. Okay, and then we have 9 because it's 6 weeks later, and 630. So this is what I'd like us to be aware. Now we want to find the equation formula of the wage as a function of number of weeks marked works. Notice that since the function name is S, okay, so we need to write S equals mx plus b. Okay, and afterwards we start form this equation, and let's see the detailed work here. We first find the slope by plugging these values. So we have 3 and 600 and 9 and 630. We always use the larger x value in front, then then the denominator is always positive. Okay, just notice that since 630 is corresponding to 9, they have to be in the same position. Then we got m equals 5, and plug in s equals 5x plus b, and then use 3 and 600 as a point. Plug into the equation to solve for b, and we got b equals 585. Now we can answer the question, what is Mark's wage when he has worked for 20 weeks? And that is plug in 20, and we got 685. So let's pay attention to number C. Okay, here we need to find the value and the unit and the meaning of the slope. Since the value is easy, it's 5, and what's the unit? Now unit is the unit of the function, that is S, which is dollars per week, and divide by unit of the variable, which is weeks. Okay, so we have dollars per week. Divide by weeks. Okay, or you can just say dollars per week, and that if we say this is the weekly wage, there's no much confusing. How do we explain that value at 5? Just by looking at the unit, and we know that if the x value increases by 1, always use 1, okay, and then the y value will increase by 5. Link to this story, if Mark has worked for additional week, and his weekly salary will go up by $5. The last part is the vertical intercept, and that's when x equals 0. Okay, so 585 is Mark's starting weekly wage. Okay, the exercise problems I picked is number 37, because that corresponding to a negative slope. So let's read this question through. We see that the resale value of a used car is $25,000 when the car is 2 years old. Okay, so again we see that here the values are given in different locations. So we got 2 and 25,000. Okay, that's the first point. Then it said the resale value drops by 6,000 from the previous given value when the car is 4 years old. Okay, so how do we get this information out? We see that car is 4 years old, and then what is the resale value? And it's dropped by 6,000 from 25,000. So that gives us 19,000. Okay, so this is one way to find the information by just form 2 points. Of course, we can use these 6,000 directly. That works in the solution, but most of the time I recommend that we find the 2 points, then we work from there. Okay. Now, assuming that the resale value V is a linear function of cos age t, so we need to find a formula V equal. So again, this formula will be, since this is the function name is V and the variable name is t, so we have, and it's linear, so we have V equals mt plus b. Okay, so let's look at the solution of this equation, and we see that we need to find m, as I mentioned. Okay, we can use 6,000 directly, but notice that it's negative. Okay, because car resale values goes down, not goes up. Okay, so then we got slope is negative 3,000, and plug in negative 3,000, and next plug in two values. Okay, well, plug in a point with t value and v value, and then we can solve for b, and we get b equals 31,000. So here comes the equation, v equals negative 3,000 t plus 31,000, and using that equation we can answer the question b, that is what is the car's resale value when the car is 7 years old, and that is easy. Okay, plug in 7. So part C is what is the slope of the line? Explain what the value of the slope means in the context of this problem. Okay, so again, we need to find the unit. Okay, and this time the units are fairly easy to detect. We know that the unit of the variable v is by dollars, and the unit of variable t is by years. Okay, so the unit is dollars over years, and value is negative 3,000. So what that means? That means if the age of the car goes up by 1, then the resale value goes down. Okay, so notice that since the slope is negative, we need to say either decreased or goes down. Another version is each additional year reduces the resale value by $3,000. So you can use your own words as long as it makes sense and it's correct. Okay, with the meaning. Number D, we want to interpret what the vertical intercept is. Here we have B equals 31,000. So what this number represent, and that represent the value of the car when t equals 0, right? So that is the value of the car when it was new. And the last question we want to find, okay, find the age of the car when it has essentially no value. So how do we find that? Which means we need to find from this equation that when v equals 0, no value. Okay, so solve this equation. 0 equals negative 3,000 t plus 31,000, and we get t is about 10.3 years. Okay, so that's probably all you need to work with homework questions and also the quiz questions.